Good morning, Fat Guy Rocks fan. We front porch preaching in the house again because it's cold, man. Florida been getting some Alaska weather. Like, we colder than Alaska today, I think. I don't know. I ain't built for that. I ain't got clothes for that. I live in Florida, okay? It's supposed to be warm, hoodie weather, right? But anyway, I digress. Let's get into the word today, man. Like I posted earlier about a verse out of Job, but I wanted to go into a little bit of detail about that because sometimes we are Job's friends. Let's get that straight, right? Because sometimes we don't see the restoration that's coming from the desolation, right? So what we see is what's going on. Like, keep in mind that during this time when Job is having this encounter and God bet on him, right? That the things that people would see that were a reflection of God punishing you is what Job's friends saw happening to Job. Now, should his friends have looked at Job and go, man, I've been around this dude. His character's good. He's always living for the Lord. I mean, that joker's, man, he's sacrificing for his kids and they ain't right? You know? And they should have seen that. But at the same time, we're forgetting that in that time and in that culture, for this to come upon Job was looked at as a sign from God that God was unhappy with Job. So when we get to the end of Job, we see this thing where God comes in and he's mad at him. And he's like, why didn't you believe him? Like, look, I had this stuff right in front of you. You know your boy, right? But they didn't. They gave him all this false information about how God looks at people. And well, you know, God does look at them like that. And if God did have these, was looking at Job and saying, hey, these are the standards that you have to have for me to be good in your life, Job was living those things, right? He was already living them. So just by his friends saying, hey, you ain't doing this, and this, they should have, wait a minute, Job did that. But sometimes we don't get the proclamation until the restoration comes through the desolation. All right. Well, that's some good stuff right there. Okay. Because they couldn't see what God was doing. So God taught a lot of different things in a short amount of time. He taught a lot of things in a short amount of book, right? He said, look, man, everything isn't as it looks. You should maybe look in my word and see, maybe count on me to have a little bit of, intuition. I mean, I am God. I know some things, right? Number two, it taught people how to suffer well. Job suffered well. He could have come out. He could have, in the midst of his stuff, he could have come out and beat down his friends. He could have come out and said some harsh things and some really ugly things about God, but he didn't, right? And so God gets angry with him at that. And at the end, it talks about when Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes, right? And at the end of that, here's a third lesson. God comes in and he says, look, pray for your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. Does that sound familiar? That sounds like some New Testament words, right? Over there in Matthew. Right, could not be in one of the other Gospels. I'm pretty sure it's Matthew, though. All right. You know what? Put it in the comments, okay? But that's something that y'all need to think. Sometimes we are Job's friends with those brothers and sisters around us, right? Sometimes we are the ones looking at them going, man, that's some crazy stuff happening. The Lord must not be with them, right? Really, that's not even the case, right? The Lord's teaching us different things through a certain situation, just like he taught Job's friends how, look, that's how you suffer well. Look, that's how you live your life. Look, you can make mistakes, but go to your friend and restore them, right? Go and say you're sorry, bring gifts. Show that man, that your heart was in my best interest, even though you didn't understand it, right? That's what God did. And then Job prayed for them. Man, for you to pray for that shows obedience to God. That shows that you had a forgiving heart, right? Because even though we didn't have the law yet, right? God was showing these people that are in the Old Testament that didn't have the law, that had this heart for God, that they were literally following people, right? Abraham, he didn't have that stuff written down. Job, he didn't have that stuff written down, right? They were walking out of this relationship with God they had in fear and obedience, man. I love this story, right? I always look at Job and go, oh man, I'll suffer like Job. But man, there's so many good things in Job that inspire me to do better, man. I don't want to be Job's friends. I want to look at those people and say, how can I help? I want to look at those people and say, man, what do you need me to do in your spiritual life, right? What do you need me to do? Do you need a glass of water? Man, I'll go down to the well. We'll pull some up, okay? So go about your week this week, man. Don't be Job's friends. Be Job's friends how they should have been. All right? Fat Guys Rock. Love you guys.